Hello, everybody. This is another interactive tutorial demonstrating some workflow, really simple workflow with Hyrax, the OPeNDAP data server. Again, if you haven't seen the first video of this or earlier video, just installing and running Hyrax via Docker container, please look it up. It's on the OPeNDAP YouTube channel. In this case, we're going to build on top of that interactive exercise. So even if you haven't seen that video, you can still follow along. So prerequisites for running this tutorial notebook is to have some sort of data. In this case, again, I have some HDF5 files, which actually has groups in them. I have some sample model output level, kind of like level 4 model data sets from the Echo simulation, which is on a cube sphere ocean. I believe it's just ocean data. And then some sensor data here, tabular data. I will not be looking at the tabular data today, but I am interested in this stuff with groups. And that case is this HDF5 file, which is a NASA product. And also I create this kind of like test data set. It's called nested group. Also has groups, it's fake data, but essentially demonstrates serving data with groups. So I'm going to be using the latest version, a release of the Hyrax OPeNDAP data server, and that one implements a DAP4 data model. If you're interested in learning more about OPeNDAP and the different DAP specifications, you can go to the official website and navigate to read the guides under documentation. Here you'll be able to find some resources. For example, some quick user guides, Hyrax data server guide. You'll have to actually covers a little bit of what I'll be talking today, which is installation and changing some configurations. And then you're able to see this specification for the original DAP2 implementation and the relatively newer DAP4, which does contain groups. Let's see. So what we're going to do is that we're going to run Hyrax on Docker, which is the easiest way to do this on a local computer. In my case, a MacBook with M1 chip. So we have the temp data sets here, example data sets. I have a Docker daemon running in the background, which hopefully you're able to see here on the dashboard. Here it is, because we'll be running some Docker commands. In order to change the file configurations, we'll have to create this site conf file. The Hyrax data server installation guide has plenty of information about changing the configuration of Hyrax. In this case, I'll just go through this kind of like interactively myself. And so let's start with creating this siteconf file first. So right now I'm in my home directory, and let's just navigate to temp. So which is here, and I'm going to create a new directory called BES config. We're going to call it like that. And inside, I'm going to create this empty site.conf file. So I'm going to do touch VS and then site.conf file. And then if I go there, sorry, well, this is, let's see if I do cat site, it's just empty, right? I just created it. Okay, it's perfect. So let's go to data, and that's where the data lives. There it is. All right. So I have an empty siteconf file. And we're going to just serve data on Hyrax, and then we're going to enable it so that it's able to represent groups. This isn't a default behavior of Hyrax, mostly because even though the presence of groups in HDF5, it's been a while around, and Hyrax has been able to implement this configuration, a lot of the clients accessing data via Hyrax or via OPeNDAP servers have been slow to adopt the group behavior. But these things are changing, and so we're really excited about that. And some optional thing here is just essentially to run this Jupyter notebook, and then especially if you want to test that you're able to serve group data, as we'll be using PyDAP. So it's a pure Python implementation of the DAP protocol. It's a widely used client for accessing data sets served via Hyrax or thread servers. So there's plenty. This is the official documentation of PyDAP. You can see there's a lot of examples here, and you can navigate on your leisure time. If you're more interested, you can go to that. So let's see. Okay, so let's begin with a simple two-step scenario for running Hyrax, installing and running on a Docker container. I already pulled the latest image, so that's really fast. And now in this case, just as before, we're going to run this Docker command for running Hyrax But there's an extra parameter here. I'm just gonna over the parameters again. So in my scenario, because I'm running an M1 chip computer, I have to specify the platform. If you're running a Linux computer, you don't have to specify this parameter. This is just in case if you have one of those desktop computers like Mac with an M chip. You have to specify where your data volume, your local data directory lives, and assign it to the default location that Hyrax would look for data within the Docker environment. And there's a new volume here in which I'm assigning. So I'm going to have to change because this is now uppercase. That's how I created it. And so now I'm going to assign, sorry about that, this siteconf file to the default location where Hyrax looks for this. So the default location or where Hyrax looks for this changes to the default configuration to the BES are here, local within the Hyrax Docker environment. So we want to assign the new directory we just created, which is an empty file right now, to that so that Hyrax is able to see it. So we're going to run this command, but I have to change uppercase BESC. And then, yeah, so I should be doing it. Okay, that's right. All right, so let's just look. So right now I haven't done anything because that was an empty site.conf file. I haven't really changed the default configuration of anything. So if I look at the Hyrax, this is the landing page. If I go to this Atlas dataset, which is a NASA product, by default, it flattens the metadata representation of the file. And again, it doesn't change the physical file itself. It just flattens this access patterns so that clients that do not know anything about groups are able to access the different bits and parts inside the file. All right, so that's just the default behavior. And actually, yeah, let's do that. And so how do we change the default behavior? And so in the Hyrax data server guide, there's a specific example demonstrating how to serve group data and how to what parameters to specify it. And for HDF5, what's really relevant is this bit here, and the H5 enable CF. It's set true by default. What does it mean? It indicates an older CF convention that it's didn't include groups back then. I think the version is 1.7 and older. Those groups were not part of the CF convention. So starting with 1.8, now they are. But so that name kind of stuck. And so we're going to change that and set it. Here it is. So that's the part here. We're going to set it to false, and we're still going to enable that through. So let's just copy this. And we're going to plug, kind of like copy paste into our local site conf file. So actually, before I do that, something that's really cool is that you're able to see these changes. You can inspect these changes from within the Docker containers. So we're going to activate this bash environment. So now we are able to see inside the Docker container, we're able to navigate. So we're going to go to the default location where Hyrax looks to these configuration files. By default, their site.conf does not exist. So because we created it and we assigned it to it when we ran the Docker run command, and now it's there. But if we look into it, it's going to be empty. All right. So with that in mind, we're going to now change it on our local environment and our local computer, local directory, and then we'll see whether it updates or not. So right now it's empty, and I'm just going to do a copy paste of these two commands right here into the site.conf file. Let's store them and then do C just to make sure that they're there. And then let's see what happens here. They're there. They're not there. Right. And so what happens is that now we have to restart the Docker environment or restart Hyrax really. So we need to identify which ID it has. So it's right here. And we're going to do Docker restart. And so hopefully that will enable Hyrax to find this new site.conf file. It usually takes about maybe 15 to 20 seconds. It finished. All right, so actually let's look into this Docker environment. So we have our Docker glossary for our non-experts, which includes me. So let's do this, BES, and then the site conf file, and then let's just see what the contents are. They're there. Perfect. That's great. And so in theory, that should mean that we're able to see the group representation within HDF5. So rather than going to the browser, we're going to use Python, and particularly PyDAP. This is the latest version of Python 3.5.2. It's a pretty old data set. Sorry, pretty old. PyDAP is an old package that was developed early in the 2000s, maybe 2006 or something. I haven't cleared my cache, so this just still looks like the older representation, but that's just because I haven't cleared my cache. I'm going to use a different browser in a bit, but I want to use PyDAP first just to see what the file looks like. And I'm going to set protocol equals tab 4. If you don't, then if you set by default, it's protocol equal tab 2, but that might change in a bit. It takes about 5 seconds, but and there it is. This is the hierarchy within the file. You see there's 900 variables. Some of them are groups, some of them are nested groups. And so we are able to, and then the way you do PyDAP with this is that you kind of navigate it as if it was a local file system. So we're gonna let's look into this variable lat.ph, which is inside the group heights, which itself is inside the group gt3r. All right. So it's almost like a relative directory, and then heights. And then that's what's in there. It's a group. And so now let's look at the variable lat ph, and then just look at the attributes. What's in there? Just names, maps, and then let's look at the dimensions. So the dimension is just level 2 data. So essentially this is the mapping of latitude with time. As it follows the track of the satellite. Also, okay, so that's great. What about NetCDF4 files which have groups? We have to do a little bit more, let's see, another change here, because we have only changed the configuration within the HDF5 handler within Hyrax, which was really easy, I hope. And then in order to allow NetCDF data that has groups and so that Hyrax is able to represent those, it's not a default behavior. So what we have to do is that assigned right now with the latest version of Hyrax, we need to assign the HDF5 handler to the NetCDF4 file. And you don't need to understand all of this, what all of these commands mean, but essentially we have to assign any data set that ends with .nc4 to the HDF5 handler. And so we're going to set that within the siteconf file. But in order to avoid any name clashing, so what we're going to do is we're just going to follow the guide here and then reset all. So this is what I'm just talking about. The thing that we want to change is this guy. But just to avoid any clashing with different names, we're just going to reset all of them and then assign them to the default. So you see there's a CSV handler, and it's going to deal with any .csv data sets and everything. So we're just going to take all of that. This is what the entire site.conf file should be in order to enable groups in HDF5 files, but also on NetCDF4 files. So now we're going to add these guys. It doesn't really matter where. And then we're gonna restart the Docker container, which again should maybe take about 10 seconds or something. And then we're gonna see, in the meantime, what I'm gonna do, I think I see that it finished. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open a different browser. See, and then I'm gonna do localhost, and then it should, we should see now that Atlas file has groups in it. All right. I didn't have to clear my cache because I haven't used Chrome, but you were able to see the nested structure here. You see now there's only 2 dimensions at the root level, which is great. But how about if we go and see what's up? So the test data has groups in them. .nc4. Perfect. So you're able to see the DMR representation, and you see group 1. Perfect. Group 2. So you have a NetCDF4 file that has groups in them, and then you're able to look at this. Perfect. And then let's look into that. Oh, I didn't check the name of the file. I'm just going to open it here and then navigate to it. Test data, and then we're going to get the URL. In this case, it's just a local host, but essentially identical when you're making it available for other people, your wide user audience. All right, so let's do this. It should be much, much faster because you don't have any of those 900 variables. You only have like 5. And then let's see, there's 2 groups, and then let's just look at the tree directory. And there it is. All right, so great. Hopefully that was very simple, especially when you have resources so that you can just copy paste. That's why we're here. And so you're able to see how to change default configurations within Hyrax so that you're able to serve data sets which have groups in them, especially HDF5 files and NetCDF4 files. Thank you very much, and I hope just if you have any question or comment, just write that in the comments. We'll take a look at those, and then yes, we'll be making more videos in the future related to some interactive tutorials with Hyrax. Thank you very much. See you soon.